Okay, now we'll take you back to memory lane of last night. We have clips from the hearing yesterday and we want to hear your thoughts.
Suggested by Chairman Paduano na yung AMLAC mismo, since hindi naman na siya incumbent, pwedeng ma-access yun with the waiver. Nagsabi na yan siya na magbibigay siya ng waiver. Puro bluff yan. Kaya nga, mas maganda kung ma-draft na po natin yan ngayon para papirmahan niya yan dito, no? Para wala nang alibay.
Will the former president be okay that if we draft the waiver now, that it be signed today instead of tomorrow?
Anong kapalit, sir?
Hindi.
Sampalin ko siya sa publiko.
Hindi, wala naman.
Ngayon na.
Wala pong ganunan.
Mr. Chairman.
I'll give you, sasampalin ko sa
Mr. Chairman.
Session suspended.
Session suspended.
So what is your take on that? Well, I think one, is it also appropriate to be seeking a waiver for his bank accounts, bank secrecy law, in a hearing where he is a resource person? Congresswoman Jinky.
I believe yes, because those bank accounts were shared by Senator Trillanes, the former senator, in support of his allegations that the son, Congressman Pulong, the son-in-law, Attorney Man Scarpio, and Michael Young were involved in drug trade. So, to shed light to the veracity of that allegation, I think the former president should welcome opening his accounts if indeed he's innocent about those allegations. Kaya lang, Attorney Karen, no? Initially, ang sabi ng former president, he is very willing to execute a waiver. Kaya lang later on, when he was being asked already to sign the waiver, medyo naging negative na siya. And I believe this is not the only inconsistency which happened last night. With respect to taking accountability, medyo kumakambyo din siya when being confronted by the individual incidents, Attorney Karen. So natapos yung hearing natin kagabi without the waiver being signed.
But here's a question as well. Why is Senator Trillanes bringing up bank accounts in relation to cases he filed against Paulo Duterte and Man Scarpio when the topic is EJK?
Yes. He was able to share last night na ang mga final niyang kaso, I believe, is plunder. No? So this will be part of his allegations of plunder. At kung bakit nagkaroon ng perang ganito, that's part of the proceeds of the illegal drug trade. So dun pumasok sa dangerous drugs operation, kung bakit naging part siya ng investigation. However, we have to consider also na yung plunder na final niya is no longer connected with the subject matter of the investigation last night.
Okay, so this is also not the forum to continue discussing
if
these
it is
cases.
about plunder, because if we will be focusing on plunder, that would mean amassing a huge amount of money from an illegal transaction. But if we will be focusing on dangerous drug trade, the illegal drug trade, then I believe that those bank accounts are proper subject matters of this investigation.
What are your thoughts, Attorney Chrissy? Is this anything of interest to you? You represent families of victims of human rights violations. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, it's really very interesting for us because it looks into the why. Kasi it's hard for us to accept that, well, one day Duterte ordered people to kill. And then it happened. So apparently, there's a whole scheme behind it. And from what we've discovered so this is a Quadcom investigation, so there are several other topics. And it turns out that there's a lot of money behind the killings. Of course, that's what we were looking at. Initially, from the point of view of victims, we thought that the sort of reward money and then the quota comes from, government policy. Because Tokhan came from a government policy, from a document. There is actually a document called Operation Lawmen that gives rewards to those who can give information about drugs operations. But we thought it should be checked with COA. But then we thought that's too small for all these killings. And it turns out that you had all this drug trade that was being protected, and then the POGO operations that was also funding and perhaps laundering the money through these killings
But
and
these
the
are
reward
all
system.
right now being looked into. What about having solid evidence? Have we found any solid evidence really linking all of these?
I believe, Attorney Karen, that we have reasonable amount of evidence in establishing those separate issues which are being investigated by Quadcom. However, the missing evidence right now is how to connect these 4 separate issues with one another, which is the very reason why the Quadcom was created. I wish to go back to the investigation prior to Quadcom, Attorney Karen. I have shared this before. We observe commonalities of issues, commonalities of circumstances, and commonality of personalities. Reason why we created Quadcom, so we can investigate all these 4 issues all together. But yes, I acknowledge that we are challenged as to the connection of these 4 issues, but with respect to establishing the violations that were committed in relation to these 4 issues, I believe that we have reasonable amount of evidence already.
Okay.